So I've posted about being aggressive about my cholesterol, and for me that involves taking a statin. But the other day I was having lunch with a friend who has a mother with dementia, and my friend takes a statin to lower her risk of cardiovascular disease, and she expressed some concerns about some reports that have come out that statins can affect cognitive function and perhaps increase your risk of dementia. So I want to talk a little bit about that today and what the evidence shows. So where is this concern coming from? Well, after a drug is released on the market, there is post-marketing surveillance and reports can be sent into the FDA. And there was enough reports coming into the FDA about statins and their effect on cognitive function that in 2012, the FDA issued a label change. And here's what they said. Memory loss and confusion have been reported with statin use. These reported events were generally not serious and went away once the drug was no longer being taken. So let's look since 2012, what data do we have to evaluate this topic? And actually in May of this year, May of 2025, two large systematic reviews and meta-analyses were published, one from a group in Brazil and one from a group in China. And they looked at, both of these groups separately looked at observational studies of just patients taking statins and observing various outcomes over time. And one review looked at 6 million patients, another review looked at 7 million patients. Probably there was some overlap in the patients that both of these groups reviewed, and both concluded independently that statins actually lowered the risk of dementia. In fact, rosuvastatin, also known as Crestor, in one of the reviews had a 28% reduction in the risk of dementia. Now, observational studies are great because they can have many years of follow-up, but they have confounding variables. And so we don't want to make too much about causality if statins are actually protecting or not protecting, but at least we can see that it's not harming. If you really wanted to get a better sense of causality, you'd have to have data from randomized control clinical trials. And we do have that, actually, when it comes to statins. There were 3 studies specifically that gave patients randomized control trials of statins in which cognitive function was evaluated. One of the studies in particular was the PROSPER study, which was a randomized controlled clinical trial of about 6,000 elderly patients around age 70 to 82 that were given statins for cardiovascular disease prevention, but were assessed throughout the study for cognitive function. And what they found was there was no impact, positive or negative, on cognitive function in those patients who were followed for 3 years total. So in a 3-year period, you're probably not going to be able to see a decrease in dementia risk, but you could certainly see impact on cognitive function, and they did not see that. There were 2 other randomized controlled trials of other statins that also evaluated cognitive function and also did not see a harm. So in conclusion, we have 3 randomized controlled trials, each of different statins, and we have 2 large systematic reviews and meta-analyses. All 5 of these showed no increased risk of dementia with statin use. So the American Heart Association and the American Diabetes Association have both put out guideline papers, statements that have said that this issue has been evaluated and there's no strong evidence saying that statin use increased risk of dementia and that it is safe to continue recommending statins in the right patients. So I basically told my friend that I would keep taking the statin.